So incoming mayor, New York City Mayor Zoran Mondami appoints Lillian Bonsignor as the Fire Department of New York, that commissioner, that position. Now the kicker is that she has no experience running a fire department. In fact, she has no experience being in the fire department. The reason why she's being appointed as commissioner of the New York Fire Department is because she would be the very first openly gay woman to run the department. Now, I'm sure we all have heard this before. DEI, right? We remember Joe Biden and the transportation secretary under him, that was Pete Buttigieg, and what a mess that was. Remember East Palestine in Ohio, that environmental catastrophe. It doesn't really make any sense, right? Any common sense thinking person would not do something like that. You want to appoint someone who is qualified to be in that position, somebody who has a lot of experience fighting fires, that understands the logistics behind fighting fires. There's certain details about maintenance, for example. Now, granted, she does have experience with EMS, right? Running ambulances, I think she was a paramedic. I think that's how she got started. And maybe some of that experience might transfer over to that. But there are certain details in firefighting that are absolutely not the same. For example, like I just mentioned, the maintenance. The maintenance is a bit different, right? The exercises are obviously different. The environment is different, okay? Fighting fires, or obviously dealing with serious car accidents, that's something that she may have done. But firefighting requires a set of expertise, okay? And she doesn't have any of that experience. And yet she's going to run this department. What do you think is going to happen? And why do you think Zoran did this? He did it because he cucked out to the far left, right? Do you think he has a vested interest in something disastrous happening in New York City under his watch? Of course not. But he's a bought and paid for candidate, okay? And his base is the far left. The establishment and the far left. That's who he represents. And it's going to be another disaster. New York City is obviously a population dense city. You don't want a building catching on fire and being out of control because the maintenance, things weren't running correctly with regard to maintenance and with regard to getting certain materials there. That goes up, right? The fish rots from the head, as the old saying goes. So it's fascinating that people would still, this is still a thing, but it is, and it will be, as long as the people that are in power, and as long as our universities brainwash people into believing that logic and reasoning don't matter at all. This is an attack on reasoning. This is gaslighting people. See, we're rational beings. We have to have things make sense. And, when you do something like this, appoint somebody that is not qualified, obviously not qualified for the job. It's like trying to say 2 + 2 = 5. You're gaslighting people. But, that's what these people are doing. I think that in part they're doing it on purpose. A lot of it's also just because they drink their own Kool-Aid, and they also are appealing to people, the far left and donors that are going to be the ruin of them anyway. So I'm sorry for the people in New York. I'm not sorry for the people who voted for this, but for the average hardworking person that lives in New York, they're probably looking for a way out. They're probably going to come down here to Florida, or they're going to move to Texas, but it is what it is.